I want to talk about the news for a second. I don't think it's a very positive influence in a lot of people's lives. I think it's a downright negative influence. What we're seeing is news becoming more radicalized, but that can be really damaging in the long run because you are further isolating yourself from other viewpoints. Suddenly you're not even speaking the same language. Without harping too much on this, I just think that we can be a little more mindful about the way that we consume news. And that starts by going to the source, figuring out where news influences us and can reach us. Obviously there's television, which you can choose to turn on and off, but you often can't turn it on and off when you're on the internet. Unfortunately, we're human and we're very emotional people, so when there's a news article that's posted on your Facebook feed, it's going to provoke a reaction. So you can either accept that just the act of catching up with your friends and family is going to make you frustrated in some way, or you can really say, I want to be very purposeful with how I access the news, and I think that's really how you can intelligently use news to make yourself a better person. Just as an example here, somebody posts a link to an article, or somebody even just comments on another article, and it suddenly appeared, you have this article that's appeared. Now what you can do here is you can press these dots right here and say, hide all from this news source. If you just realize that this is a negative influence in your life, this is how you can hide it, and you'll never see those articles again. And that doesn't mean I'm cutting myself off from the news. It means I'm on Facebook and I want to catch up with my friends and family and see what they're doing. I don't really want to have political discourse right here. But there's also a self-control issue, and I tend to go to some of these news sites by myself willfully. So for example, if I'll go to CNN.com, I've actually got a Chrome plugin that's installed that will block that from me. So I still catch myself going here just because I don't know what else to do and I'm bored or something. But this Chrome plugin, Stay Focused, will block the whole site for me. So those are just two things that I do to kind of prevent certain news sources from getting to me. Now the goal here is not to cut yourself off from news completely. That's not what I'm advocating here. That would be a lot less stress, but I don't really think it makes you a better person. So what you need to do is add back in news sources selectively. Be very intentional with what news sources you choose to consume and what their bias are. Now I strongly believe that you cannot avoid bias in news. It's not about avoiding bias, it's about managing bias. And one good resource I use for managing bias is this website, allgeneralizationsarefalse.com. There's this media bias chart, which you might disagree with a lot of the news sources on here and where they're specifically positioned. But what this does give you is a nice mental model to think about news sources. Everything has a certain bias, be it from the left to the right. And then we have original fact reporting to opinion pieces. What I use two news sources, Reuters and The Economist. And you can see that they're both within this mainstream column. Now what I like about Reuters and The Economist is that they're both London-based. Because I live in the United States, having news sources that are based in London means that they have a little less skin in the game for domestic politics. I'm not going to talk too much about Reuters here, but The Economist I want to talk about because not only is it just a very good and pretty measured news source, I really like that it is a weekly magazine. The Economist actually has a website where you can get new articles as they are released 4 hours ago, 6 hours ago, but I never go here. Instead, I use the Economist app. So every Friday a new issue comes out. This is the January 20th issue, and you download it and you can just read it like a magazine. So why do I like a weekly magazine? You get a nice summary of that week, and the important things that happen kind of rise to the top. So you can see, for example, this section, The World This Week. You'll see a summary of everything that's happened this week. That's like super notable. So you can read this just to get started and see if anything catches your eye. Also, they have sections for all of the different regions of the world. So it's a great way to kind of check what happened in this region of the world last week. And the most important things are rising to the top. So the last thing I want to mention is this new challenge that I'm doing for myself this year. Every week when The Economist comes out, I'm trying to get something out of it that I didn't get before. But not just about what happened that week. I want to find out about the countries that I don't know anything about. Now the reason this is hard is because I'll typically just scan right past the summaries of these articles without even noticing that I don't notice it. I see that there's none of the characters, there's none of the people, there's none of the country names that really resonate with me emotionally, and so I just skim right past it. But for example, if I can notice that there's this article about Tunisia, if I can say, okay, wow, I didn't really react with Tunisia, that's a great sign that, okay, there's probably something there. This issue has a lot about Tunisia, so this is a great chance to get caught up. Every week I'm going to try to do a different country and add their main characters to my cast of characters so that when I see articles with them in the future, I'll actually have some sort of a reaction instead of my eyes just scanning past them. So I'm trying to get more of a global perspective. I'm trying to get more of an eye on what's going on in the rest of the world. And in doing so, the nice side effect is that I'm getting less caught up in the weeds of what's going on in the United States. I'm still paying attention. I'm going to read every article about the United States in this issue because I care about what's going on in the United States. But I'm not getting caught up with these articles that are just about political wins and who said what and who's dissing who. So all this to say, this is a method that works for me to recenter news in my life as a source of information, not entertainment. I think it's led to a more healthy relationship with the news, and I'm happier in general.